Ladies and gentlemen, we are starting week 13 now of the MNM show. We've got some fun for you today. We're going to switch up the format of the show just a hair. But before we do, we're going to definitely talk about some of the things that happened last week. George, last week was crazy. Well, last week's still not done. Last week has now moved fully into this week.
Yeah, last week is this week, and then that brought a bunch of surprises because certain players that were on the COVID list are not on the COVID list anymore. So your Gus Edwards shares might be worth less than they were before. Needless to say, it's really hard to put the best team on the field the way that things are right now for fantasy.
I have never had to pay more attention to like a Sunday morning than I do now. And take that for what it's worth. But and it's not. I mean, it's not just COVID, but like the injuries this year. And we knew with no spring training. Good God, we knew with no camps, right? With the camps being essentially just a handful of practices, that this would happen. But man, like I don't know that anybody saw it going this way. So COVID has absolutely ravaged the players, the teams, and therefore our fantasy weeks. So speaking of which, if we review last week, wow, you put out a stinker. So let's just real quick go over the QB, running back, wide receiver combo here that you loved. Derek Carr, which I was with you. I almost picked Carr. Derek Carr, who literally might have had the worst game of his career against one of the worst defenses in the league. Didn't see that coming. Zeke, who went up against a good defense, but you were feeling confident. Did not go well for you. And Pittman, who like I think he had a 10-pointer, and that was the highlight of your loves. To be fair, I was big on the Colts last week. I thought big things, and then come Friday, it turns out DeForest Buckner, Danico Autry, like basically our entire D line was decimated by COVID. So I was like, going into Sunday, I was like, well, here comes the top rusher in the league to destroy my team. And sure enough, that's exactly what he did. They just ran it up the gut, up the gut, up the gut all day long. And there was no stopping them.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show there really isn't any absolutes in fantasy. It's more like building a really strong roster. Julio Jones ends up being hurt. And then I had a choice between Julio Jones and Russell Gage or Rashard Perriman. And to me, that was like a coin flip. And I ended up going with Gage, and that didn't work out. So you just got to hope that you guess right more than you guess wrong. But yeah, it was a difficult week for my excitement.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I did okay with Rivers, who didn't necessarily have a great game, but threw up a 20-pointer for me. Swift was out again. I should have known better, and I think he's at least coming back. I hope he's coming back this week because I got a running back on bye. So if he's out this week, I could be. I still got some bye weeks this week, so I could be in some trouble, especially if I keep some players on COVID list because I still have Ayuk and Thielen on the COVID list, and if they stay there, I could be in trouble. Luckily, Rivers had a decent game, and then Diggs, I think he 39 yards, but luckily it's 7 receptions to go with those 39 yards, so I still got double digits with him. But good Lord, like it wasn't a comfortable. I eked out a win this week in our fantasy league. Eked out one. What's funny is, and I don't know if I told you this, so I went golfing around noon on Sunday, and like thinking like, well, Kyler Murray did not do well. Like none of my receivers were doing well. Like I was like, well, I'm done. Just assumed that the indomitable Michael Conti would have was going to just destroy me, and then looked at my we went to dinner at my in-laws that Sunday night, and sure enough, like I looked at my fantasy and I was like, how did I pull this? How did I pull this one off? So every now and again you get lucky with some double-digit scores and get a win out there, and Sure enough, I got lucky. Robert Tanyan. I think I told you this yesterday. I looked and Mark Andrews out with COVID, not going to play. Hayden Hurst had already started his game. I was like, how are they going to do this to me so late in the day? Well, Tanyan's available on the wire. Let's go get him and hope he doesn't poop the bed. 17-pointer. Booyah. Sorry, Conti.
Yeah. My only advice for that, as somebody that has a lot of leagues, is I try and celebrate the accomplishments of the team that I have. So in other words, like I will watch the show that just shows touchdowns. I'm not sure if YouTube will give us trouble if I name it by name.
Yeah, we're not
Uh,
supposed to.
but right, but
The show the show that's named after the red zone.
yeah,
Can't get in trouble with that.
yeah. So I usually watch that about halfway through the 4 o'clock game. That's when I actually check out how my teams are doing and who I'm up against specifically, like from a team, like my opposing team, because
Sure.
honestly, there's not much you can do about it at that
Sure.
point. It's just kind of sit back and, if you're getting destroyed in a league, it's not worth ruining your day. Plus you'll be pleasantly, like you found, a lot of
Yeah.
times you'll be pleasantly surprised by how
It
you're doing better.
turns out he found a way to have a worse day than me. And I like some of these, like I felt really comfortable going. Like Cleveland's defense has been pretty okay all year long, right? Like their offense is not that good, so it must be the defense that's helping them win games, right? Started them against Philadelphia, and they had a monster day. Thought, oh, that's a pretty safe start against a rookie quarterback and in Jacksonville. Negative a point. Well, come on, guys. Stop giving up billions of yards to and apparently Jacksonville like figured it out. Like, oh, we just need to give the ball to James Robinson. That worked out well for you.
Yeah, for sure.
So love that. Love that. I will say this: we our hates turned out well for us. I took Matt Ryan, who though the Falcons had a great game, he did not. And Ito Smith. Anyway, Kenyon Drake did not have a great game, and the Bengals wide receivers, I was proven correct on that as well. Like nobody out there is, and you knew they were going to struggle. So, especially T. Higgins. So felt good about that. It was sometimes it's just easier to point out, like, man, you got to watch out if you've got a Bengals wide receiver, run away from him. Now's not a good time. So,
yeah,
but it's just that time, and it's weird because you were able to really focus on them, and now it's not so much. So who do you have for your hates this week, though? Let's chat about that.
hates this week I came up with for quarterback, obviously Derek Carr, because
What defense are they going against this week?
I'm not sure, but I'm not feeling good about it one way or the other, because
Sure.
that was a stinker, and that lost a lot of people games they should have.
I don't know that you can take him as a hate this week. They are playing the Jets. You might rethink that real quick. Let me go ahead and give you my hates. You think about if you want to stick with Carr. I'm going to give you my hates for this week because I want a little bit bold on my hate-ems this week. So here's my first hate out of the gate. He had a big game last week. He's not been horrible this season, but he's not been great. I'm going to go with Deshaun Watson. I'm going to count on my Colts team to get healthy, that Colts defense to get healthy, go into Houston and come in and prove a point. That offensive line's still not great. I think David Johnson's still out. I don't think he'll be playing this week. So they got Duke Johnson lining up at running back, which is not a good scenario. And I expect the Colts team to play really, really angry there. And I'm going to jump to my wide receiver because it's a direct here's the wide receiver that I hate because screw him. Will Fuller, out there getting suspended for his PEDs. He's having a monster year, one of his career years, and you and another player on your team get suspended for PEDs. You have to know better. Have to know better. Choose your cycle smarter, boys.
Yeah, Fuller, I'm a little bit kind of it's a love-hate relationship. I love the fact that he kind of propelled me to a bye week in some leagues, and there wasn't that much of an investment in him because nobody thought he could
Nobody,
keep
yeah,
healthy. But I do hate the fact that he is suspended. So now I have a large gaping hole in a couple of my teams
yeah,
coming into the playoffs.
and it can definitely hurt. It can definitely hurt you. I mean, and overall, I think that I honestly think that's going to end up hurting Brandon Cooks as well, because Kuti looked okay last week back, but like against a really bad defense. And now you get to double cover Cooks, right? You got Jordan Akins over there running around. Like, I'm not excited about him. So it's, I just don't know that hurts. Like your team wasn't winning any more games this year anyway, or anything that mattered, right? But come on, man, come on. So now you've had some time to think about it. Are you looking to go away from your QB, or are you sticking with Carr there?
The only stipulation I usually throw into this is I like to go with a quarterback that I have.
That you own, yeah.
So I'm going to stick with Carr.
Okay.
Maybe not for this week, but definitely for the rest of the season. I'll double down. I'll say I hate him for the Jets.
Okay. I like
Just the
that. I
way
like
he
that out of
looks.
you.
The way he looked like trash. I
He
watched
deserves
most
it.
of yeah.
He's earned it. He's earned it. Who's your wide receiver? Are you going to take a wide receiver with him? You going to go to Henry Ruggs or something?
Ruggs seems like he's too easy of a target. That seems like that would be
Sure.
hitting somebody when they're down. I'm gonna go Michael Thomas.
Ooh.
I am scared that they don't have a quarterback on that team. And Taysom Hill, I watched most of that game. That game, when you weren't running the ball and running the ball effectively, that game was pretty ugly.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah. That's the NFL went ahead and made a mockery and a point. They made a point of making sure that one of the Broncos players, I think a cornerback, came out and even said, like, they're attacking us, and they did. They said, okay, here's what happens when you don't wear masks, or here's what happens when you're not following protocols. Guess what? You get to play the game anyway. Oh, you don't have a quarterback? Well, that sucks.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think Taysom Hill doesn't really look good throwing the ball, and Michael
Ooh.
Thomas is a possession receiver.
How how they decided I understand having Taysom Hill get in there and play a little bit of quarterback. How they decided that he's the better option than Jameis Winston, beyond me.
I mean, they're winning games, but at the same time, like,
They played two of the worst teams in the league, and they're winning games. Let's not act like they're out there. You know what
sure.
I mean? Like, you played an Atlanta team, and that game was close until the end, by the way, right? And then you went out and destroyed a team that was starting a practice squad wide receiver who had actually petitioned the NFL to let them start a coach at quarter. They wanted to start their quarterback's coach at
Yeah, that was
quarterback.
pretty wild. Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, ridiculous. So I look at this and I say something, I'm with you. I like that pick. I'm like, it's not something I would have done, but that's bold, and at the same time, like, that's a good call. I'm gonna give you my running back now. So the running back I took that I hate this week is, um, it's a little bit bold, but realistically, it's not even the Rams. And it's not that I hate their running backs, but they have three bona fide guys that, like, at any point in time, like, and it was at one point, it was just like, well, it's going to be Brown or it's going to be Henderson. And now Akers has gotten back, gotten healthy, and now, like, last week, Akers put up 20 points, and Brown and Henderson put up like a combined, 1.75 or some nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at that, like, you just don't know which guy. They're definitely going to ride the hot hand, and you don't know which guy it's going to be. It's a little bit of the same problem you have with with Jonathan Taylor, Jordan
Yeah,
Wilkins, Naheem Hines. So
you can't.
who's
You
the,
just can't do it.
you can't do it. Who's the running back that's got you concerned?
I'm gonna put, and it's a little unfair, and I did this last week as well, because he is on the COVID list. But James Conner, just because you've got a real good-looking rookie that's behind him, Anthony McFarland, and then you also got yourself Benny
Well, Benny
Snell, who
Snell.
looks really good. Like, Sometimes he looks like trash, but sometimes he looks really good too. So I have a couple of leagues where I have James Conner as like my running back 1 or 2, and it's very concerning to me that not only is he on the COVID list, but he's also not playing very solid. Like he could have his stinker of weeks.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. Well, let's go to the love part of the game. Let's get a little love up in here. So I'm gonna give you my QB that I love this week. I'm gonna play that Kirk Cousins game. I'm gonna get out there, throw me a little love at Kirk Cousins. He's had a couple good games in a row here. Even though they lost, they're finding ways to lose games. I still like Kirk Cousins playing at home to Jacksonville. Soft defense. I'm hoping Thielen comes back, but either way, I think there's enough there for him to have a good game.
Yeah, for mine, I think I kind of alluded to this last week that I only have a certain amount of quarterbacks left.
Josh Allen.
It's Josh Allen, yeah.
It's Josh Allen.
And he's playing the Niners, so it's not like it's not the best defense, but it's also kind of like maybe middle of the road there.
Yeah, no.
So I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. I've been waiting for that chip, almost like it's a survivor. It's a survivor pool or something. I'm gonna use him as my last one of my last players to be excited for. At this point, like I might have to pick Taysom Hill next week.
Oh boy, that's just dirty. All right, so I'm gonna give you my running back this week. I'm not gonna give you a single one. It's hard for me to. I'm gonna just take the Colts running back squad because I don't know if JT is gonna come off the COVID list. I want JT, that's who I want, but I'm thinking Wilkins. I don't think it's a great spot for Hines against the Texans, but I'm going all in on the Colts against the Texans. The Texans have a bad defense across the board. If Adrian Peterson and his 150-year-old like knees can have a big game, then I'm going to count on Wilkins or JT to go out there and have a big game against just a pretty soft interior Texans defense outside of J.J. Watt. And unfortunately, he's just a lone man out there doing what he can do. I will tell you, J.J. Watt's going to have at least 2 sacks Sunday against Philip Rivers. You can put that in the bank.
Oh, yeah.
At least 2. And he's going to bat down about 100 balls against his little sidearm action there. So.
Very easily, yep. For me, I think it's Derrick Henry time.
Derrick Henry. So I'm going to have to go see who Tennessee has this week. The Browns. Yeah. I mean, they did just give up 138 yards to your boy James Robinson. So, yeah. If you've got Henry, now's a good time to pick him. Yeah. 200 yards and maybe 2 TDs against the Browns.
He's going to be my workhorse for to the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's getting hot at the right time.
He is. He absolutely is. All right, my wide receiver, I'm sticking with the Colts. My boy T.Y. Hilton finally had a game last week, had a tutter, like 70 yards. They found him. He has historically, if you go look at him playing the Texans, this is a team he has historically destroyed throughout his career. So I'm going to say, all right, T.Y., I'm riding you. You're getting hot at the right time. It looks like you finally might have a little something going on with Philip Rivers. And the Colts are probably going to need to put up points in this game because there's no way they're getting all their defenders back. So that'll be my hope there is that between their running backs and T.Y. Hilton that this should be a big monster game. So they'll put up 40.
Yeah, and for myself, I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. So the same logic that you had with Kirk Cousins. I don't think I've picked him just yet, but he's been super exciting all year. He looked like he was able to get a lot of separation on Sunday.
Good week last week, yeah.
So two touchdowns, not a lot of catches, but certainly 2 touchdowns. He was there when his name was called there, so to speak. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to pick him for this week because he has been, I mean, far and away, he's more likely the rookie, one of the rookies of the year, at least from the wide receiver perspective.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. All right, I like your pick there, and I hope he has a nice big game there. All right, we're gonna do a little new segment to the show called True or False. Okay, so everybody, it's pretty simple to figure out how it works. I'm gonna give you some scenarios. You give me true or false. Okay. Philip Rivers will take advantage of an easier schedule for the remainder of the season for the Colts, and the Colts can still win the division in the AFC North. Now, because obviously it's a two-team race. Colts have Houston twice, home to Jacksonville, and then away to Las Vegas and Pittsburgh. Tennessee plays uh, Browns at home, Browns at home, at Jacksonville, Lions at home, at the Packers, at Houston.
And Tennessee is what, a game ahead of them?
A game ahead.
Yeah, I want to say that I feel like Tennessee has a relatively soft schedule.
Neither schedule is super hard. I just look at it thinking, man, the Browns are a good team this week, right? Browns are 8-3. Browns are a good team. And then away to the Packers. And I'm also looking at it thinking Pittsburgh in the Colts have Pittsburgh in week 16, and they may have already sewn up
Yeah.
They may have already sewn up. They've already sewn up the division essentially. They may have already sewn up the number 1 seed.
I'm sure they will at that point. So yeah, I do think that certainly the Colts have the better schedule coming up. So I would say true.
Ooh, well, true. This one's a tough one, but that's why you get paid the big bucks, George. All right.
Oh yeah.
This is a fun one now. The NFC East winner will be with 5 wins, and it will be the New York Giants. And then I've got a second question after this, but let's stick there. So 5 wins, and it's going to be the Giants.
The reason why I have trouble with that is I think Danny Dimes is going to be on the shelf for a bit.
Might be, but I think he'll be back. So and I think I told you a little bit about this pre-show. I think every team in the NFC East max has one more win in them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think the Giants and Washington are both at 4 wins now. I think each of them will win one more game against an NFC East opponent. I don't think either of them will win any of their games outside the NFC East. So I think that puts them at 5. The only team that could possibly threaten this, because Cowboys are done after getting just slashed by Washington. Cowboys are done. I think we're on the same page there. So if the boys are done, then Philly, because if Philly can somehow win 2 games, they'll have that the tie, which will give them a little boost there. So I'm thinking though, like 5 wins is the cap. Are you with me on that?
I'm taking a look at like Washington's schedule, and the Panthers and the Eagles seem to be softer, but then you're staring right at the Steelers, the Niners, and the Seahawks before that.
They're not winning any of those games.
Right. So
I'm with you there. So I could see Washington maybe squeaking out another game against the Panthers.
Yes.
Big maybe. Because C-Mac's back too. So, let's kind of put that in perspective.
Sure. But I think C-Mac, at the end of the day, he doesn't necessarily win them games. He just gets a lot of stats. So I think – so what is the overlying question? It's that the Giants are going to win.
2 questions. It's got to be both, right? True or false?
Okay.
5 wins in the NFC East, and it's going to be the Giants.
I'm going to say false to 5 wins. I'm thinking somebody's going to be able to pull out 6 wins.
So you actually think, because if you look at the Giants schedule, they ain't winning 6 games. So if you, especially with Daniel Jones being on the shelf, I think he'll be back sooner than later. But I think he's going to miss 3-4 weeks. But I think their last game of the season is home to the Cowboys. I could be mistaken. I looked at it earlier. So if I think about that, and that's kind of where I came up with the 5 wins. All right, secondary question. Whoever wins the NFC East, Giants or not, whoever, Washington Giants, maybe even Philly, they also win 1 playoff game.
False.
False.
Yeah, there's no way.
So let me let's take that step back. So I think a lot could happen.
Mhm.
That last spot or that first non-division winner will probably be either the Rams, who somehow can't beat the 49ers but have no problem with anybody else, or the maybe the Cardinals get up there, right? Maybe it's the Bucks. I don't know. So that last team, that 5 seed will be one of those teams. Now, if it's the Bucks, I don't think they have a problem. The Rams are going to travel all the way across the country and play that noon start against a Washington team with a pretty good defense that plays sort of similar to a 49er team that they can't beat. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying. It's a false. I'm with you. I don't,
I mean, it's close. Certainly, if Tampa Bay ends up being the seed that shakes out to play the
then
Cowboys.
That's totally different.
Sorry, the Redskins.
Whoever it is, the Washington football team.
Washington football team.
All right, you ready for this one? Another big one here. I'm gonna make you make a call.
Okay.
Because they're gonna lose. They're gonna lose tomorrow. I think we both agree on that. So there it is. The Baltimore Ravens missed the playoffs.
True.
Yeah, boy, and you're right. That is true. All right. Historic here. The Cleveland Browns win a playoff game this year. I think they're going to make it. I think we're all comfortable saying that at this point, right? It would massive capitulation for an 8-3 team to not make the playoffs. So the Browns are probably going to make the playoffs. They're going to win a playoff game for the first time since what? Like the 60s, the 70s, maybe the 80s?
It could be. I don't remember them winning.
So like their first playoff win in like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Since the drive, maybe.
Right. So they're a wild card team. So they're going to
have to play on the road. Yep.
On the road, and they're going to be playing.
It'll be probably Tennessee, Indianapolis. Well, so we talk true. So according to us, it'll be Indianapolis probably. Indianapolis would maybe be if they win their division, probably the 4 seed.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's either going to be.
And they've already won in Indianapolis once this year.
It's going to be either Indianapolis or Buffalo, I believe.
Or possibly Tennessee, right? So those are the kind of the 3 options.
I can't see them winning just because those other teams have actually been to the playoffs recently.
Yeah.
With exception to the Colts, I think it's been a while, but
they didn't go last year. They went the last year luck played. They went to the playoffs and lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round.
I think they'll get to the dance, but I think they'll get some good experience out of it, but they won't get anywhere. I don't think Baker Mayfield's going to be able to come through in the clutch.
Sure. Stellar running game, though. Got to give him credit for that.
Oh, yeah.
Steelers go undefeated in the regular season. They put up 16 dubs.
See, that one's tough. Okay, so we're giving them the win on Wednesday. They play Washington football team. They play the Bills, Bengals, Colts, Browns. I don't know. That's enough. To me, that's enough teams that play them super tight that they're going to lose at least one of those games.
I think if they lose any of those games, it will be. So what'd you say? It was So it's obviously the Ravens this week. Buffalo,
Washington football team.
Oh, Washington. So there's 2. When do they play Buffalo after that, or is it Cincinnati?
Buffalo, Cincinnati, Colts, Browns.
I think if they lose any of them, it'll be one of those last 2 games, maybe both. Because if they're at 14-0, they've probably maybe not. They've probably locked up the AFC at that point. Maybe not because I see Kansas City probably losing one more game between now and then. I don't know against who, but I just don't. They'll probably lose one more game between now and then. But if they go undefeated till week 16, I also don't see them even for no other reason than COVID, right? Like sit some guys, have some guys just be out there having light workouts and all of that. Don't chance having a guy get COVID going into the playoffs and having to sit him for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. I'm with you. I'm gonna go false as well on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Saints are the best team in the NFC. True or false? This is tough.
That is a tough one.
That's the Saints. You've got the Seahawks out there, and obviously Green Bay. I think the Saints are a game ahead of both of them.
The Saints are a game ahead of Green Bay and Seattle. Oh, I just don't like haven't seen enough of the Saints to feel confident. To your point, since they've been starting Taysom Hill, they've played two not that great teams. And Drew Brees has been hurt. I don't know if he's going to be coming back anytime soon, and I don't know if he's going to be as sharp as could be.
I think that's the question you've got to answer this question. Because if they have Brees and he's 100%, because he was starting to get the ball down the field a little bit. You have Michael Thomas on that team. If he can resynchronize with him a little bit, like that's a dirty team. That's some filth right there. They're going to put up points. Kamara, Thomas, Sanders, like that's a good team. But man, it gets a little sketchy. Besides that, doesn't it?
It does. So I'm going to say false because I think that Seattle and Green Bay are just so close that the law of odds would say that they're not the best team because Seattle and Green Bay are super close to them, if not a little bit above them.
Right. All right. I think we got a couple more here. So, and the next two are related. Okay. The Arizona Cardinals make the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, that's tough. Because the division that they're in,
best division in football.
Rams, Niners. So they would have to be like maybe the second wild card team because I don't see Seattle dropping a couple more games and this Arizona picking up a few games. So Tampa's probably going to be the one wild card. They could potentially get themselves edged in there. I think it's going to be a foot race between them and the Rams.
Well, I think the Rams and the Cardinals both make it. Remember, 7 teams make the playoff this year. So I think it's are you counting on the Vikings, the Bears, or the Niners passing them?
No.
I don't see that happening. They're all 3 at 5 and 6. I just don't see that happening.
If anything, I see them potentially dropping the ball, so to speak, and then maybe the Niners eclipsing them.
Maybe, yeah. If anybody does, it'd be the Niners. All right. Well, then the next question: do the Bucks? So I initially put this as do they miss the playoffs, but I just don't think there's no way that's happening. Right. They're just the rest of their season isn't difficult enough for that to happen. They still play the Falcons twice, so that's kind of what I mean by that. So do the Bucks though? Are they able to win a playoff game?
All right, so they're not going to win the division.
Nope.
We're pretty sure of that.
3 games back, so that's not happening.
So they're probably going to be away.
But here's the key, right? Because their bye week's this week. So depending on what the Rams do, the Rams and the Bucks could essentially be tied going into next week. And whoever that 5 seed is, they're going to beat that NFC East team on the road.
Yeah.
Other than that, no, I don't see the Bucks winning versus if they squeak in and they're the last team in, they're definitely not beating say the Saints. But I don't see them beating Green Bay. They might, man, that'd be a shootout against Seattle. That'd be a fun game to watch. I'm just gonna root for that to happen.
Well, the Saints would get the bye week.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah, I was thinking a traditional like 8-on-8, but no, you're right.
So can they beat the Packers is the question.
Can they beat the Packers or can they beat Seattle? And I don't know if they can. I don't think they beat the Packers. I think they could beat Seattle. Seattle's defense is bad enough that I think they could. Man, can we just lobby for that game to happen? Would there be a more fun game out there? I'd also be okay with seeing the Cardinals play Seattle again. That'd be a fun one too.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think the Bucs. I don't think they're going to win a playoff game, but if they are playing the NFC East team, if they happen to just do that,
yeah, well, like
if they get like the what would that be? That would be the 5th seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they end up having the 5th seed over the Rams, then yeah, they're totally going to win a playoff game. If they're playing the Packers, or the Rams, not so fast. So I'm going to make the assumption that, like, since there's more chances that they won't play,
give it a false.
Yeah, I'll give it a false.
There you go. I like that out of you. I like Tommy Terrific not winning playoff games.
Of course you do.
Of course I do.
We all do.
Still hate him. Give me outside of the Raiders just getting slaughtered. Give me your surprise of the week this week before we sign off to do the pick'ems.
I think the biggest surprise. Did you say besides the Falcons?
Besides the Falcons destroying the Raiders, because that's just too easy.
That was too easy. Oh, that was what I had.
That was you had that in the back pocket.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give you my surprise of the week. I mean, he only had 55 yards, but Adrian Peterson turning back the clock and running down Houston's throat a little bit. That was my surprise of the week. I thought, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't an overly close game, but I thought, man, without Swift, like, I don't know that Detroit's going to do anything. And they kept that game close for a half, basically just based on Adrian Peterson's legs.
I guess you could also say that I wasn't surprised that the Redskins beat the Cowboys.
That it was.
I was surprised how badly they beat them and how good Gibson looked and how good Alex Smith looked.
Yeah, Gibson looked really, really good.
Oh, and McLaurin being able to save that touchdown, that interception for run back.
Yeah.
That wasn't necessarily a surprise. It was just like, man, I'm an instant fan of somebody that works that hard to save a score on the board.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with that. All righty, well, that's that. I already gave you my surprise, so thanks M&M Nation for joining week 13. Learn about fantasy. Stick around. Right around the break, we're going to have our week 14 pick'ems up for you. All right, appreciate it. Thanks M&M Nation.